The BrickLink Designer Program is known for giving LEGO fans mock-styled sets and, of course, catering to LEGO fans of a certain age, namely the Millennials and Gen Xers, who have the disposable income for large sets like this one. Now, we didn't order any BrickLink Designer Program Series 5 sets, but we did receive our one purchase from Series 4, the Medieval Seaside Market, and in this video we are going to review it. We're going to break it down. The build, was it good? Are the minifigs really interesting? Are they quality? And does this match the same level of building techniques and quality of a LEGO design set? Let's dive in. The box is the standard white background of the BrickLink Designer Program. On the front is the seaside angle of the markets, along with a 25th anniversary of BrickLink decal in the upper right corner. The back shows the land side of the set. Inside, there are 49 number bags, along with 2 unnumbered bags of larger plates and pieces. Plus, there is a sheet of cardstock with information on where to find the online building instructions. There were no stickers in this set, which is consistent with the set details that were released before the pre-order window opened. Despite having 49 numbered bags, I will note that there weren't a lot of pieces in each bag, and only a handful of bags actually had a second smaller bag within them. So it was a little bit different from the normal pacing of a LEGO set, and honestly, I appreciated that. I liked how this all came together. Other than the digital building instructions, which I'm not a huge fan of, the build was a pretty good experience. The flow was smooth and there were some interesting building techniques. As for the pieces, well, we'll get into that in just a second. The build is unusual in that it is distinct from any one previous castle theme. However, it lacks its own identity. This set does focus on the Lion Knights because you get 3 of those knights, but it doesn't fit the full architectural style of, say, the Lion Knight's castle. The corners are actually built similarly to the Kingdom's Joust from over a decade ago, but instead of using light blade cheese slopes, they use dark blade. The buttresses that were included in various places on the exterior of the set reminded me of the old Black Monarch's castle from way back in the 1980s. Like the Forest Stronghold, you use a lot of masonry bricks mixed with regular light blade bricks. Dark tan is mixed in quite a bit to break up the gray wall. Some spots use larger window panels to fill in the space, which is similar to the old school castles all the way up through the early 2000s and 2010s. The market stalls were very reminiscent, by the way, of the Ninjago City sets. Now, to be fair, this isn't a knock on the Seaside Manor. I think that it was commendable that they mixed and matched different building techniques and concepts from previous themes. And in terms of the building experience, you would go from building this roof right here that is like the medieval blacksmith to building part of the docks. And so there was a varied experience, and even though there was some conceptual repetition from previous sets, there was very little actual repetition, with perhaps the exception of these corner sections with the snot bricks and cheese slopes. Some of my favorite building techniques included the armor stand for the blacksmith, which has these front bars that are angled up, the brick-built doors to the seaside market, this architectural detailing at the top of the tallest tower, the crane mechanism that moves from side to side using ball joints, and it can be raised and lowered, which is a fun play attribute. And then there's this wine cart, which I think looks fantastic. And finally, the boat hull construction is really cool. I enjoyed putting that together. There were some small issues with the build though. Some sections were a little bit weak in terms of the durability. This small part of the tower had multiple layers of bricks stacked without crossing the seams. I'm also not a fan of the prefabricated wall panels, which were used in a few spots along the exterior of the markets. 6-year-old me would have loved those, but the old cranky version of myself prefers the brick-built castle walls as much as possible. Another downside was the tree, which was finicky to put together, and there were moments with this part that the instructions weren't very clear about. This was an issue with the Forest Stronghold as well. Another issue is that there really are no ladders up to the top of the towers. Again, though, this is the case with many castle LEGO builds, official and for the BrickLink Designer Program. In terms of pieces, it's very hard to find any fault with this. As a BrickLink Designer Program set, there aren't any new colors or molds, but there are copious amounts of solid pieces. For instance, there are over 100 tiles in dark or light blade. There's another 70 plus in dark red. There are over 300 light blade regular bricks, plus a couple hundred more modified bricks. And there are so many of these masonry bricks sprinkled throughout that you get a lot of good stuff with that as well. I get that you're likely going to put this on display, but if you wanted to use this for parts, they're pretty versatile. There are also a bunch of great accessories, including Lion Knight's shields, food items, animals, birds, fish, and flags. I want to highlight the 2 seagulls, which are not all that common outside of the BrickLink Designer Program sets. My favorite accessory, though, is the bi-colored Lion Knight shield, which has only appeared in the Lion Knight's Castle and the BrickLink Designer Program Series 1 Mountain Fortress. I can summarize the build and the pieces for the set as meat and potatoes, which as a Midwesterner here in the United States is a compliment. It has everything that you need. It may not have everything that you want in terms of new colors and new molds, but it does have so many good parts and some really interesting building techniques that is going to keep you engaged enough when you build this that you're going to enjoy it. And I think it's something that's appropriate for the whole family. There are 9 minifigs included in this set, and in case you're wondering about how that works or why there weren't more, keep in mind that the BrickLink Designer Program actually caps the number of minifigs you can have depending on the number of pieces. So 9, I think, is the maximum amount that you're allowed to have in this set, and the benefit, though, of the BrickLink Designer Program is that you can use torsos that are available from existing sets at the time, and this one definitely has a lot of really good minifig torsos in it. We'll start with the Lion Knight soldiers, of which you get 3. 2 soldiers with a crossbow and a traditional Lego archer. Their torsos and legs are the same that we saw 9 times in the Lion Knight's Castle and once more in the medieval town square. These were also available briefly on the Build a Minifig section in the Lego stores a little bit ago, so people may have stocked up on them then. While my favorite faction growing up was the Forestmen, followed by the Black Falcons, these Lion Knight redos are excellent, and I will never complain about getting more of them. The fisherwoman has a worn-looking tan vest with dark orange shirt, which has so far only appeared in the medieval town square. Get ready to hear that said a few more times as we go through this section. The dark blue legs complement the torso nicely, and the dual molded dark tan hair with dark blue cap piece is not too common, appearing in only 4 other sets. The Snake Charmer has yet another torso that only appeared so far in the medieval town square, along with the Riverside Scholars in the BrickLink Designer Program Series 4. The olive green vest with a dark brown belt works well with the dark brown legs and its white shirt. I will note, though, that there is a slight color discrepancy between the yellow head and the yellow print on the torso, which is a little disappointing in terms of quality control. The tax collector from the medieval town square also returns in this set as a merchant, his dark purple surcoat adding a splash of color to this set. The minifig is identical to that in the medieval town square, except that this one lacks the black cape, which is a little bit of a step back in my opinion. So you, of course, picked up the theme of the medieval town square when it comes to the minifigs, and the maiden shares that same characteristic. She has the same dark red dress torso with the money pouch and the corresponding dark red dress slope. The face and hairpiece are different from the medieval town square's innkeeper, however, although they are not all that unique. The wine cart driver, which happens to be one of my favorite minifigs in this set, also comes from the medieval town square. Unlike the tapestry weaver in that set who shares this torso, his dark orange sleeves are matched by dark orange legs, and the face and the hair emphasize a younger persona. The blacksmith deviates from the pattern of medieval town square torsos by incorporating a black torso with dark red overalls that have some chains and a silver buckle. The torso so far has only appeared in the Viking village. The face with an eye patch is more common, appearing in recent pirate minifigs, such as those in the El Dorado Fortress, and the minifig vending machine. So some might find it a little bit annoying that the minifig torsos here really copy those found in the medieval town square. I don't have a big problem with that. If you didn't pick up the medieval town square and you aren't planning on it, getting this set is going to give you some really unique torsos that you're only going to get in that set. Furthermore, I think those are great torsos, and they're pretty generic for civilians. So I don't mind getting those that you can use for other minifigs as you develop your medieval town or your display. So I'm okay with that, and I think these minifigs are really, really strong overall. The finished product reflects the versatility of the set's modular design. You can, of course, go with the main display option shown on the box, which highlights the markets. I kind of think this is a medieval version of the Ninjago City docks, which does look better and more lively by showing the docks itself rather than the exterior of the set. It has this almost ordered chaos of coastal commercial activity. The back of the set is comparatively lackluster, although there is some greenery, some nice archways across the bottom of the battlements, and a solid entrance gate that provides security for the merchants. The crossed oars with the lionite shield and white plumes is a nice decal befitting of the seaside markets. If you choose to go with this configuration, it will measure about 17 inches long, 13 inches high, and importantly, 17 inches deep. The depth will be a concern if you want to display it on a typical bookshelf. As an alternative, the official BrickLink images provide this combination, which is more shelf-friendly, measuring at about 23 inches long and 9 inches deep. There are some trade-offs with this display though. The battlement jumps up a bit randomly when combining the armory section with the fish and vegetable section, and then it drops back down when you go into the far left tower. On the plus side, you get a little bit of a marina effect for the boats coming in, and I like how this boat for the set can sail right on into that nook. This is also a set that your kids will like to play with. There's the cart and the boat, which are among my favorite parts of the set. There's also this lift, which I noted before is very effective. Plus, the catapult is a working version, and it launches 1x1 cylinder pieces, one of which we promptly lost when trying out this mechanism. Finally, let's compare it quickly to the Forest Stronghold, the castle option from the BrickLink Designer Program Series 3. There is an 800 plus piece differential between the two sets, and the Forest Stronghold just looks bigger and more substantial. But honestly, I enjoyed the Medieval Seaside Market a bit more in terms of the build and even the overall look, partially because of the docks and castle juxtaposition, and because, honestly, there were fewer trees to build, and those are really annoying to build in the Forest Stronghold. I noted this when we reviewed the Forest Stronghold, which is that the BrickLink Designer Program sets lack a little bit of the originality of the official LEGO sets. Now, I think this comes from a couple different places. The first one, of course, as we mentioned earlier, you can't have new colors of pieces, you can't have new molds, and so you're restricted with what's available to you when you design these sets and they are released. But the other component of this is more important, and that is these sets typically are going to copy already existing LEGO architecture, whether it's because you want it to fit into the Lionite's castle theme or the medieval blacksmith architecture. It's difficult to find castles at this point that really reflect new and original building techniques and looks. Now, that's changing, of course, with Series 5 and the Adventures in Transylvania, as well as maybe some of the future BrickLink Designer Program series where you might get some unique placements for castles. But so far, these do lack a little bit of creativity in terms of redesigning what castles are like in the LEGO world. That said, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a very, very solid set that's going to fit in very nicely to your castle display or your layout. And that's exactly what this set does. It fits in beautifully with other sets that you might have in your castle layout, even with mocks. I think that's a very, very accessible set in terms of the architecture. You should be easily able to get these pieces off of BrickLink if you want to add on to it or create similarly styled buildings if you don't already have those pieces in your collection. The overall aesthetic is pretty good. I did not love the window panels on the back side, but it's not part of the presentation of the set if you're displaying it, so I understand why you want to cut back on the pieces that are being used there. So overall, I'm going to give this set a solid score. It's not going to be elite, but it is going to be an 8 out of 10. Now, I think it was a pretty good value when we bought it off of BrickLink Designer Program Series 4, the pre-order window, for $230 US. Right now though, on BrickLink, you can find these for going about $350, which is pretty steep. I'm not entirely sure it's worth it, but I'm still guessing it's a value if you were to try to order all of these pieces off of BrickLink. If you do want to build certain parts of it or mimic it, you can download the instructions off of BrickLink and build your own style or modify this however you want, depending on the pieces you have in your collection. So there is that. So this was, I think, a fun set. It's one that I'm glad that we have. I'm looking forward to adding it to a larger castle display as we build up our display infrastructure in our basement. But in the meantime, let me know what you think about this and any other BrickLink Designer Series Program 4 sets that you got and have built. What you think of those in the comments down below. Thanks for watching our independent review, and always remember to keep building together.